Episode 10. It's the 10th World Championships.
Woo.
It's the third day at Worlds. The numbers don't match up. Oops.
I've cried 10
It's still
times.
It happens. But it's vision denial. My name is Sebastian. Josh and Connor.
I am Connor.
I'm Josh.
As I say.
The hopes for NA are not dead, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get to where the hopes are dead, or we'll get to why explaining they're not dead.
We'll get to where they're explaining they're not dead.
Okay.
Right now, we got to explain. Southeast Asia is doing great up until this game.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot of really cool drafts today. I'm excited to gush about all of them. I don't think any of the drafts are not interesting today. None of the bands are interesting, but all the draft picks themselves are cool.
Sure.
Let's start with Machi versus G2.
Yep.
This made me very sad. I was really hoping Machi was going to win. I was rooting for them.
Mm-hmm.
They almost did it. But this is like some goofy shit out of them. In the play, at least. For the picks, however, I think in terms of the rundown for the picks themselves, the Machi on the blue side got Graves, Syndra, Senna, then round 2 Pantheon, Mordekaiser. This is a great round 2 from Machi. And then on G2 side, they got Ashe, Nidalee, Camille. And then on the second round, they got Galio, Tom Kench. Also a great round 2 from G2. I think all around, the bands did nothing other than answer what they didn't want to lose in their win conditions, and both sides got to pick what they wanted to pick.
Yeah, that's true.
This is nice.
Yep.
I like it when drafts look like this, mostly because it's both teams handshaking and saying, yes, tried our 100%.
It's like theater, yes, or improv, I mean.
I was going to say, it's like Goku, who just never lets anybody play at the weakest, which is stupid.
Well, he is a shonen protagonist, so...
He is a shonen protagonist. I gotta say, however, this is some... I don't understand what's up with G2 when they keep taking fights that are bad.
Okay.
Or keep taking fights that they're an advantage and then losing them. You got the answer? Yes,
they have a horseshoe up their ass. That's what it is. Because, there's so many times this game where I'm just like, okay, it's over. Machi's got it. Or, maybe not it's over, but, it's sweet. Machi gets the next X thing going. And then, nope. They come back, 2 seconds later as if nothing happened, as if there was no... it's crazy. It's like no one told them that they were going to lose. So, they thought they could win. So, I'm about to make a really bad, comparison. But does anyone here know Warhammer 40K?
Yes.
So, you know how the orcs just believe that shit works? And that's, kind of how they do life? They're science, this is how science works. Red things go fast. That's why our tanks go fast, because they're red. I feel G2 just won because G2's we're going to win, right? And so it happened. I don't know why they won. I just feel like they won because they were supposed to. They believed in it, and then it just happened. Because, I don't think they should have won. I think Machi had them a couple times.
So, yes, Machi had an early lead, and Machi, you could say, looked like they were in a position where they could have won. But even just looking at these team comps, right? So our problem with the Liquid draft earlier was they have the Mordekaiser at top, and they don't have a tank in the jungle since we have this Graves and Nidalee are the preferred junglers at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes these the Pantheon support. The whole team comp is really squishy. Remember, so Pantheon can put up his E for a second, he can stun somebody, and then after that, super squishy. Mordekaiser, he can get his ult, but when his ult's not up, or after he's used that, or his shield, there's only two things. They only have a very limited amount of abilities, right? Senna has a heal, sure. Syndra has one pushback. They have a little bit of disengage. G2 has more. They have more options. So they have a fight, and the Mordekaiser ult goes down. You're like, okay, cool. They use their abilities. And then G2 goes back in 30 seconds later before it's back up.
I really wouldn't call it more options. They have one combo option. Their options in isolation aren't very good to answer the composition that is Machi.
Okay.
Their answers in combo are. So it literally is Machi just waiting. Oh, look, their combo is down. Or look, one part of the combo is down. Great, we now have advantage to pressure and poke. Because that's exactly what they did, and they were able to properly pick out. This is why I didn't have a problem with the composition Machi have, because the composition that G2 have is very much 1-2 punch, and then they have no other punches. Why did they pick a Tahm Kench? The Tahm Kench is literally a defensive option for either the Ashe or the Camille after they fumble.
Yeah, I mean, it saves the majority of the team. It's squishy.
Well, with Pantheon has both the very aggressive single target engage as well as a very strong disengage option that exists similar to the way Tahm Kench works, but for more people to protect.
Okay.
There's more combinations of attack options that existed with Machi and a better scaling option.
Yep. It also provides the map play because Tahm Kench can jump somewhere, pull someone with him, and then like they have the Galio ult for the semi-globals as well. So it allows them multiple semi-globals to get around. And what I've noticed specifically from the European teams is they're probably the best in the world at using the semi-globals to get from mid lane to the sides. It's a play you see all the time out of both G2 and Fnatic. Even Rogue does it to a certain extent. They use their globals from the semi-globals specifically, so your Twisted Fate, your Shen sometimes, and then like your Tahm Kench, your Galio, whatever they're playing, they use them to get to the side lanes and to support a split push, or they'll make the teleport plays. Like G2 probably wins the most out of like teleporting backdoor than any other team. You know what I mean? Like it's like a set play for them.
But they're predictable in the timings they do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is why I think this Pantheon pick is great because it ends up giving them a 1-4 option with the ability for Pantheon to answer any type of pincer maneuvers they go against Mordekaiser.
Sure.
And you realize really quickly, G2 had almost no answers for Mordekaiser for large swaths of these team fights.
Well, the Mordekaiser was almost what was basically the only thing keeping Machi in. Because, like, remember that one time they dove, Mordekaiser ults someone and gets a triple kill off of it?
Yep.
Maybe, like, tweak a couple champions and maybe tweak a couple plays, and, like, this could have been Machi's for sure.
Exactly.
So also that Hail of Blades Tahm Kench solo kill.
Like
that made me laugh.
It's so frustrating because like I miss playing Tahm Kench solo lane, but he's crap because he's literally been nerfed to being only a chomp bot and that's it. He's literally only there to eat supports. So it upsets me to see crap like that because it's like, man, I remember when you could do that. That was like a normal thing with Tahm Kench.
Yep.
But anyway.
Evil. But honestly, the only other thing I want to talk about mostly with this game is that it worries me that G2 are starting to show trends that the unicorns are showing.
Okay.
They are throwing at major objectives and badly closing out games. And where they should clearly be the better team fighters, they clearly aren't. They have good creative setups. I put a note here. The team fighting looked like they were only barely better than Machi, but they had better setups, more creative setups. And so I'm thinking, if you don't ever let G2 play a team fighting comp, you ban them in the same way that teams are banning out North American teams.
Okay.
G2, I don't think, has any clue how to play a siege comp, poke comp, even just like a simple pick comp with like re-engage options. They are go, 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 and that's the only mode they know how to do. And I think that's going to shoot them in the foot.
Interesting.
We'll have to wait till quarters to see, probably at this point. Her.
A little earlier on the predictions, aren't we?
I know, but
I mean, that's how predictions work. They're always early.
I just don't think it's gonna work. I'm sad. Anyway, do we got anything else to say?
No.
Right.
I think it was cool that both teams got to pick what they wanted to.
It was neat. It was a good game overall. I'm just sad with like.
Yep.
All right. Now for my big disappointment of the day. Game 2, Team Liquid on blue side versus Suning Gaming on red. Team Liquid starts out their draft with the first pick, Syndra, followed up by a Twitch Rakan. You're thinking, all right, here we go. They got it. And then they finish it off with a Lee Sin Volibear. Suning goes Nidalee Galio and responds to the Twitch Rakan with a Draven. And then they round out their draft with a Leona Jax.
Yes.
Team Liquid's draft leaves my mouth with a bad taste. With so many bad tastes. All right. So remember when this first Twitch Rakan combo came out and all of you were like, and I'm going to keep repeating this every time the Twitch Rakan comes up, but the two of you had the right gut instinct to question it. And I was saying, no, this is a great response to Evelynn.
But not just a regular lane.
Just not as a regular lane. It needs something like a Shen, which was banned, or any other secondary defense option for Twitch to respond or to engage with, of which there was none. Zero. Nilch. Not only that, but it was called out immediately with a Draven. This was baited out.
So what they're saying is, and what we saw happen in the game, like going into the first few minutes of the game, is they're playing Draven Leona just to kill lane. It's set them up, jump on them, like get the Draven the kills, get ahead early, like classic kill lane. So what it does, and we said Twitch Rakan's cooldowns are like 20 seconds early game. It's terrible. Twitch, same thing, without the attack speed. And without his passive built up.
I honestly don't understand how people in solo queue play Twitch. Because, I feel like he does nothing to, he has 3 items. And, it's 25 minutes or something. I don't get it. Anyway, sorry, Connor, go.
Right. So there's so much weaker early. And what they're doing is they didn't necessarily even need to get the kills early. Because all they're doing is they're threatening the dive even as early as, level 2, level 3. And they're just pushing the Twitch back to get him away from farm, right? They're trying to chuck him out, get his health bar down, push him off the wave, get ahead. And, by 10 minutes into the game, they not only did that bot lane, but they did that to basically every lane on the map. Right?
And again, stop picking Volibear. You banned Renekton, Wukong, and Set. What are you looking to counter with Volibear? Look, all of you convinced me. Volibear is a great early game counter, and then it just becomes a stun bot. Put it into jungle even sometimes. It will work marginally better. But you blind pick it?
And Jax can counter your stud. He can block your stud. He also same way he does it to Leona. Right? It's terrible playing Leona into Jax because he just blocks auto attacks, so therefore blocks your stud. It is no fun.
And I also don't understand, all right, Syndra first pick baffles me.
So, sorry, go. Yeah, finish.
Syndra first pick baffles me. This seems like such an early priority to let your jungle go for you to pick jungle in the second round that doesn't actually gain you any extra statistical advantage or any compositional advantage to help your win condition. You're going for dragon control and you pick Lee Sin into Nidalee.
I think this is the first Lee Sin besides SOFM, who did good though in my opinion with Lee Sin. I think that was a good way to play Lee Sin. Besides SOFM's Lee Sin, which was kind of fabled before this is the first other person to pick up Lee Sin, and I am not impressed at all with it. I'm just why?
Broxah and play-ins.
I meant of groups. I forgot to add the word groups. But yeah. I don't know. I'm not impressed. I feel like Lee Sin is like the vein of jungle where it's like you're gonna style on people, so like you're claiming that like your mechanical skill is just so good it's not even worth trying to pick up. I'm on the other side of you, Seb. Go left.
Oh,
It's not even worth trying to like counter pick or anything. I'm just gonna out vein you in the jungle essentially. And the other thing that's kind of weird for me is like we commented about how, you know, with Twitch, you want something that can help protect it, like a second layer of protection.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't going to first pick jungle, why not first pick the Galio, in my mind?
yeah. That's incredibly, like, there's so many decisions here. I don't understand what's going on. They went from, like, play-ins having almost a virtually awesome draft set minus INTZ to being called out almost every single game. They are now 4-3 in score. And I don't even want to talk about how, like, they played this game out. This game out was literally, hi, we know what your win condition is. We're going to choke you out in every single possible way from your win condition.
Yep.
And then you're going to just suffer. And I literally wrote out, first 10 minutes are important, tipping point at 25 minutes. Well, the first 10-minute mark, it was 3.5k lead with Draven with an Infinity Edge, and they had 2 Dragon lead. And then at the 25-minute mark, it was a 10k lead with an Ocean Soul, and SOFM was Flame Horizoning Broxa.
Yeah.
So,
and even that, like, if this went to really late game, like, if this went to, like, everyone on 6 items, Suning still has a Jax, which at, 3-4 items is not able to be countered in the side lane.
Also, doesn't Draven late game still 2-hit anyone that isn't full tank?
Pretty much. If you build pure AD, yeah, it's a good, right? So it's versus the attack speed on Twitch. Like, yeah, Twitch is going to take out, like, tanks better, perhaps, like, but...
If he lives.
Yeah.
Which he wasn't going to live.
Because the way that not SOFM, the way that Suning was playing, like there's a world where like they could just be like, oh cool, the Twitch, Draven flashes on him, double autos dead, while they all jump on the Draven in response, Galio all like anyway. I know it's hypothetical.
There literally was a fight.
There was? Yeah. Oh yeah, there was. Sorry, yeah.
But, that was literally one of the fights.
Yeah. But
so here's my question. I know that we were going to revisit this upon tomorrow.
Yep.
But we've seen 7 games out of Team Liquid as opposed to all of the other North American teams that have 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Does Team Liquid need to revisit their entire strategy? Are they now so predictable that they lose in draft because they can be called out so easily?
I think so. It's not exactly the I guess it is predictability, but like basically like they need to learn how to do more than just the 2 combos that they're doing. Like the people in casting were mentioning how it's like Team Liquid doesn't do well unless they get like what was it, like Shen Graves, Galio, one other pick, or Twitch Recon. Like they have like 2-3 double things that they're 2-3 pairs that they're always trying to get in draft, and people, especially in groups, have picked up on it and banned it every time. Oh, it's TF. That's what the other one was. It was a duo with TF. Yep. Anyway, but yeah, like people keep taking them off of them, or in this case, ban most of them and then leave up the one that they know that they can counter. So like, I don't know. Like I feel like they need to go like to the drawing board and like pick up some MF or something. I think.
Yes.
I mean, just sure, pull out the Callista.
Mm-hmm.
And, like anything different, they become such a predictable team in draft.
Yep.
It's worse than watching an Australian team draft.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And
so,
like,
I think though, to be fair, especially these last 2 games, where you can argue that okay, maybe it's TL making a mistake, but I'd say it's less that they're doing bad per se, and more that the other teams read what they were going to do, figured out a counter to it, and executed. Right? Yeah. So like probably the Draven Leona is probably not something that they played against a ton in scrims or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not an expected oh yeah, we played against Raven and Leona and it went terrible, right? So they might not have expected that coming out, right? Like in
So what I'm saying is exactly that.
Yep.
They are predictable to the point where people are able to create a strategy that is surefire almost every time.
Yep.
That's not a good thing going in. You'd think that after going into play-ins, you would have a strategy for play-ins and a strategy for groups, but it sounds like the preparations where we have a set number of strategies, which one do we think will be best applied for which team?
Yep.
And I don't think that's a way you play against teams. Like, I saw an interview that Jad did with Travis Gafford, and he's like, give your team some slack, but like also things are at such a high elite level. It's kind of crazy how the best of ones also shake that up. And I'm thinking, but like, it looks like your preparation fell short literally on day one. You usually pivot at that point.
Sure. But they couldn't pivot because they locked in Twitch for Con.
Yep.
Right away. So my trend
Volibear.
Right. So my trend that I was going to note is, so almost every team has been doing last pick or fourth pick on red side, 4 or 5, same thing. Support counter pick has been huge in Worlds, especially in group stage. Everyone's been doing it. So the only things that have been picked earlier than that was third pick support. We've never had a first or second pick support. And a couple teams that have done it are TSM, Liquid, and Fnatic once.
Oh God!
But they did it.
Teams that are losing.
So, and Fnatic is the only one who won with it, but it was the Fnatic versus TSM game, so it doesn't really count.
Oh God, Connor, you cracked
it almost
code.
proves my point. It almost does, but go on.
So, yeah, and that was a third pick Thresh, not Rakan. Everyone else has been third picking Rakan. Technically, Damwon third picked a Pantheon.
That's a flex.
But technically it's a flex, and like I wouldn't call that like a trend per se. Everyone, so the exception of that one Damwon game, has been going, let the last pick support, go for the counter, fourth and fifth pick, no matter what side you're on, red and blue side are both doing it, last picking support, to allow themselves the more priority picks. Like, you can prioritize your stuff like, your Shens and your Orns and your Nidalees and your Graves, like, right? So the supports are not really the power picks per se. The only ones who are like, yeah, we need to lock in Rakan early is North America.
Yeah, and obviously this particular trend, and anyone who wants to practice drafting, take note of this. The reason why these teams are doing it, where they're doing second round support picks, is to be able to round out their core concept of the draft, so that it allows them to be able to navigate around whatever the opponent is trying to work with and allow their own weaknesses to be shored up. That's the reason why you see more defensive supports being picked up more often, and rarely are engaged supports super prioritized in the next round unless it's left open.
My one other point there is that right now, though, if you look at it like in tiers, so let's say like top lane, we have like Ornn and Shen as like an S tier, and we got like you're like, right, we got like the Camille, like we got certain tiers, right? Like you have a certain fall off, like you really want to get Ornn, right? Support is right now. Is there really an S pick support right now?
Leona,
Nautilus are good, sure, but like support is mostly just like you got a big A tier to a certain extent, right? Like
I'd agree with that. I don't think there's like a single
Yeah, if you get Thresh instead of Leona, you're not like, crap, we've lost, right? Like there's not like a, oh no, where's the difference between like, okay, now we gave away Ornn, oh crap, or like we gave them Nidalee and now we're stuck with Hecarim kind of thing. Like they got, right? So it's a much bigger difference in the tiers in other lanes right now, much more than it is in support. So, right, there's no like must pick supports. No.
Yeah.
So that's it too. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like,
from what I can see, the only must pick support is Set because of the triflex.
Yeah, so he's picked as a jungler and a mid and a top. So it's, he's high priority because of his flex.
Yep.
It allows
also,
you to
like I think it's just weird, like, to jump to scores really quick.
Mhm.
Like, Volibear, Lee Sin, Syndra
Yep.
should be, like, goon squatting anyone to set up the Twitch to kill them. So, to me, it's very funny that they literally got 2 kills, and only one of the kills Twitch participated in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't even, like, I understand that they got counterpicked by the Draven Leona thing, but, like, it like, they didn't even pull off the big thing they gave up their draft for. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they gave up their draft for Twitch Recon, and then didn't even really try to do anything with it. Because, like,
Yep.
they didn't give away a ton of, like, 12 is a lot, but, like, I don't know, like, it's weird. Like, it's like they just kind of, like, kept getting picked off and, like, being like, okay, we're done. Like, oh, back up. Like, it felt very roll over and die. Like, I don't know. It wasn't great.
Yeah. But anyway, that's
Sorry,
Also,
Connor.
stop
I'm
picking
only
Volibear.
commenting because I care. I just want NA
Oh.
to do good.
all good.
Stop picking Volibear. Stop picking Volibear, please. Like, you had me only monocritically convinced beforehand, and then you banned Renekton and you picked it, and I'm like, I'm less convinced now. Is everybody just fluking with this Volibear? Is this like one of those style matchups where you're like, yeah, I guess it's the only other thing that kind of survives, and I'm better than him? Because that's what it's looking like to me. It's one of those things where like everybody's just like like the way that LS would put it, it's like Renekton is not great as a pick that later on into the game, where a lot of these games require on mid game to late game team fighting, and Renekton has one role: jump in, stun a priority target, survive as long as possible, disrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like you look at Volibear's MO and you're like, huh, furry crocodile. It looks like it's the same MO when it comes to that period of time. But I'm not convinced that it's more effective, worth enough to even pick as a counter, let alone pick it alone when Renekton's not even on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it has a lot weaker matchups against a lot of what would be available later on. Did Sion just disappear from the consciousness of every single team?
What's
Isn't there like a myriad of flex picks that exist that could do the trick?
Yeah. Let's look at our top lane champ pools. So the top is currently the most unique champ pool out of anything, with 22 different champions have been picked. So you would think there's lots of options.
You'd really think there are lots of options, but how many games has Volibear been put in top lane?
Yeah, it's the most unique champion pool. We've seen stuff like we've seen Vladimir, we've seen Poppy, Kale, Aatrox, Jax, Gnar, Malphite, Gangplank, Sylas, Urgot, Lulu, Kennen, Quinn, Wukong, Sion. We've seen so many options.
Where you had me convinced yesterday, you have me even less convinced today. Take the huge variety pool and the absolute wealth of talent that like every team. This is like a stacked top lane tournament. Have you guys noticed like how crazy the top lane talent is this year?
It makes me a little bit sad that Huni isn't here, because I would have loved to have seen Huni get smashed by everyone.
Oh boy.
But my point being is like, there's like a wealth of talent. There's clearly gotta be other options than Volibear that just jumps in and dies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with Volibear being in the jungle because some jungle roles end up being relegated to like secondary support for utility or for like a CC bot. And if it doesn't do that, it's Lee Sin, in which case, what the fuck are you doing? Except for SOFM. Do whatever the fuck you're doing, your magic.
It's because he's actually kiting on Lee Sin, which most people don't do.
Yeah.
Most people playing Lee Sin try to dive the backline. They go for the insect every single fight. That is how people play Lee Sin in League of Legends, even professional play. They're like constantly going for the insect.
Full
and it looks great.
lethality, maybe a Black Cleaver for
necessarily
tank.
lethality, but no matter what, they're always going for those flash kick plays. They're trying to kick people back into their team. They're like, yes, I can push a carry back into our team. That's what people go for. SOFM is not specifically going for the insect, trying to dive a backline as Lee Sin. He is saying he is often using his kick to push the enemy engage away from his own carries. He's kiting on Lee Sin, supporting his team rather than going for the risky kind of like push them in setup.
He essentially plays support Lee Sin.
Yes. Which very few people playing Lee Sin are like, I'm going to try to use my kick to push the whatever Camille away.
Well, it's not the cool thing to do.
Exactly.
No.
All right, but we've gushed about this game. Well, I don't know if gush is the right word. We've cried about this game for about like 15 minutes now.
We've also covered all the trends. To be fair,
we're covering a bunch of the trends, and this is a good segue into the next game.
Yes,
because remember when I'm saying creativity for the top lane, you got a wealth of talent. Who else to talk about but Nuggery in the top lane, who picked 2 unique champions out of 2 games that are none of the trends.
Yep.
This man is my lifesaver.
So, Damwon versus PSG is the next game.
Yep.
We had Damwon on blue. Damwon picked a first pick Graves, followed by a Senna Syndra. Then they rounded out their draft with a Thresh Kennen. PSG then picked on red side. Their first 2 picks were Kindred Ashe, followed out by a Azir for tank. And then their last 2 picks were a Lulu and a Nautilus.
Both of these are great, minus the Kindred pick. The Kindred pick is a little early. I think the Kindred was
actually okay. I think it was all right.
It was a little early.
Yeah.
Given the fact that they immediately picked a Senna Syndra right after, made me think, ooh, either Kindred's got to be faster than the combo burst that is the Syndra Senna ult.
Yep.
Or survive a way that would avoid being pushed out or stunned. Like, there's a lot of tools immediately just with those 2 champions that stops Kindred's like greatest teamfight asset from being able to be pulled off.
Yeah.
And I think it was a little early, just a smidgens early.
One thing I will say, though, holy shit, did Nuggery just, like, slap Hanabi around. Like, oh my god. Like...
Yep. The thing with Lulu top
is man like, couldn't breathe.
So what you want to do with Lulu top is just be auto-attacking with your passive and just queuing, and it's kind of like the way you play Xerath. Just like you just spam all your mana into trying to get their health bar down so that they can't all in you. Because if you get all in, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So if you're playing into like the Renekton or something, it's like, okay, just get his health bar down, get damage on him, just hit him with Qs on cooldown every single time, just so he can't all in me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just but Kennen is like, okay, I can match you. I'm just going to Q and auto-attack you back.
And
right?
Kennen doesn't have resources. He has energy, which means he can do it forever.
Yes. So while Lulu's going, I'm going to keep doing this until my mana bar's out, and hopefully by then you're so low health that I can just be safe from an all-in. Kennen's like, I can match this. I'm also better in team fights. And when you're behind, I can just keep killing you. Like, he got kills, like, what, 1v3, 1v4?
He got kills 1v4. Like, at one point, they threw the entire... They threw the entire team. Maybe it was 1v5. But they threw almost the entire team. There was at least 4 people at Nuggery, and he goes, okay, well, I'm taking Hanabi with me. It just nukes him. All while people are trying to peel him off of the Hanabi, like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And then Nuggery's just there, like, he's coming with me. All while Canyon's bot lane just getting turret for free because they rotated everyone top.
Yep.
This is I don't know why you don't expect this. Like,
this is one of those weird things where they picked Lulu top, clearly because they saw Damwon do it, and they're like, all right, cool. We take it now. What you going to do about that? Your trump card's nothing. And then Nuggery's like, you think that was my trump card? Nah, I was just smurfing.
They definitely shouldn't have picked the Lulu into an anti. Yeah.
If Nuggery's played it, he's probably played a bunch of games on it, meaning he's probably both won and lost on it, right? If he's been practicing it. So he probably went, hey, you know what I lost to really badly when I was trying out my Lulu? Kennen. That matchup is terrible.
Yeah,
Like on top of it, they didn't even set up that matchup to work out. They literally all they had to do was make sure that Kennen was zoned. They should have done literally the planned matchup here, and I would have loved to see that. Is not like a full lane swap, but just have Nautilus Lulu top.
Yeah.
And have Ashe solo lane. That would have been the big brain play to do at that point, and zone Kennen off as far as possible. It delays their late game power spike. Senna alone with Thresh isn't going to do a lot of kill pressure if Ashe is zoning properly, because they'll push into the turret. They don't have freeze options.
Yep.
And so that is probably your best way to do that without having to like randomly have
the Nautilus was top lane.
Roam the entire time, losing out on experience and just hoping he gets kills so he's not behind from Thresh.
Yep. They were trading kills pretty well early. It's just Canyon on the Graves had so much better objective control.
Correct.
So it's like, cool, everyone's trading kills, but I'll take the Rifts and Dragons while you're,
faffing about.
Exactly.
I will say that this game, a little bit, like it's a better showing from Tank and River.
Yes.
So that's good, because their first game I did not like at all. I thought they were really bad their first game. So maybe the first game was just jitters, or maybe JD had their number that day or whatever, because like they definitely looked better against Damwon, who I think is a better team than JD. So hopefully, maybe this is like a second week power up type thing. Maybe they'll Fnatic it or whatever.
We'll have to see. So I guess moving on then.
One thing I want to mention, and this is something that people who watch drafting happen. You have to be aware of when the power spikes are.
Yep.
When the item spikes are, how good each team are at the transition of the different phases, and the key moments to look out for. I wrote here that the Straff on both sides is pretty good. I would give like the slight edge to Damwon because of the obvious Kennen pick here, because they also have a stronger initiation. But PSG has a great amount of disengage on this comp. This is like a crazy amount of disengage, and it showed in some of the fights. And I wrote here as an arrow, 15-minute check. I put at 15 minutes the check. Damwon had a 1.5k lead, and then 1 minute later they had a 4k lead. So you have to be able to, when you recognize what the compositions on both sides are, you have to recognize at what time or at what times you have to check what the gold and positional advantages from both sides to see if any of them are still on their win conditions or not.
Sure.
From this, it's very easy to see that Damwon recognized what their win conditions were and understood how PSG were going to approach their own and played around them and kept up the pace and tempo to keep up this gold lead. This is the kind of shit you need to see from all of your teams. Because if you don't do this kind of shit, you're probably not playing to your win conditions very strongly.
Right.
All
right.
Yeah.
Let's get into JD and Rogue, though.
Sure.
So, JD and Rogue, the win goes to JD on blue side with a first pick Renekton, followed up by a Lilia Zoe combo, the Sleep Sisters, as LS will say. And then they round out their draft with a Kate Bard, so poke lane. Rogue, their response to the Renekton is a Nidalee Volibear. So Seb can't complain because it's a Volibear into a Renekton. Then they finish their first round picks with an Ashe, and they finish out the whole draft in second round with a Azir Blitzcrank. So Connor will be happy because they finally picked Blitzcrank.
Yeah, this is just pick comp into pick comp to a certain extent.
This is simple pick comp versus very complicated pick comp. This is like, I'm gonna style on your grandma pick comp from Gen.G. This is a stupidly complicated composition to maneuver.
but it's got, Kate alt range, Bard alt range, and then Zoe, Lilia. So basically what they're saying here is between those 4 champions, they can kill you from the other side of the map almost.
Sure.
Between Bard, Caitlyn, Zoe, Lilia. So it's
so
basically
much
just
setup.
outraging. It's outraging a Blitzcrank hook, which is like 1100 range. That's so much range.
Yeah, but it's so much setup. This is like a really complicated setup out of JDG, and I was just
maximum range pick.
And I was here going like, is there just a lack of respect from JDG here? This is the smart team, by the way. This is
might
the smart
be, but also like, frig, man, like it was owed, I guess, because clearly Rogue didn't deserve the respect.
Well, they picked. Okay, so one, sure, you picked the Volibear with the Renekton there, but you picked the core combo of Nidalee, Volibear, Ashe.
Yep.
Where is your Nidalee supposed to go?
You could technically get the Renekton.
That's not going to help very much. You just saw them pick Lilia. And so your response to that was to do Ashe? You saw them pick Lilia Zoe instead of counterpicking a mid lane to help figure out where your composition was going to go. You were like, we don't want to get counterpicked ADC super hard. Take Ashe now, ban all of their ADCs. And it didn't do shit.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, the second I saw Ashe, like I put Volibear, I put an arrow to Renekton. I didn't put question marks next to Volibear. I was like, all right. But I put the Ashe, and then I circled all 3 of them together and put question marks there, going like, what's your core combo supposed to do here?
Really quick, is Larson good at Akali or something? Like, why did they ban Akali?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a respect ban.
Okay.
Yep.
Because they respect it a little bit of respect.
I mean, like, I don't think it's worth this much respect.
Larson is great, to be fair.
Sure. I've yet to be convinced. Ever since I've seen Rogue play, I've yet to be convinced. This is awful from a team that automatically qualified to Worlds from just qualifying from the playoffs and playing 0 playoff games on 10.16.
His Lucian was great day 1.
Okay.
Wait, LEC do they operate off champion points still?
Kind of. So the champion points, the way that it works is that whatever your championship points were from spring, and then the results that you get before summer playoffs will determine another set of champion points. And the top 6 teams to qualify with champion points go to the summer playoffs, and seed number 1 automatically qualifies because they pick the top 4 results from the summer playoffs and not from a champion point seeding. And because the lowest that Rogue could ever get from being first seed in the summer playoffs was 4th place, they automatically qualified for playing 0 10.16 games, and then proceeded to go 0-3, and then like kind of wonky beat Mad Lions, and then lose out to G2 in fairly convincing fashion. They literally had the opportunity to go 0-6 and still qualify for Worlds, and I was almost convinced that that's what they're going to do. Not happen.
Yeah. The only thing I really can complain here is like JDG won a fight cleanly. Everyone was dead for like 20 seconds, and then instantly drops Rift Herald, and then auto attack the tower because like you can. What else are you gonna do? You're hitting the tower. Get the tower to like 2 health, and then Rift Herald charge it. I've seen this a bunch of times where it's like, I think Liquid did it too. Where it's like, you guaranteedly have this tower. If you didn't drop the Rift Herald, right? You have the tower.
Yep.
Cool. So the Rift is dropping, and I got the second charge off. Sure, since it's still at health left as they're respawning, and then they kill it. But it's not like a huge thing. But okay, you guaranteedly have this tower. So why don't you kill the tower really quickly, focus it down like you did, drop the Rift as the tower is at like 10% health, like as you're finishing it off, so it doesn't waste its charge on the first tower.
And get a full charge off on the next tower with a
has a full charge left, and then it has 3,000 health left to be either to threaten the next charge or just to waste the enemy team's time of killing the 3,000 health Rift Herald. Like it's not a huge thing, but like you let it charge at like 2 health. Just
I feel like
make it
again,
more
this is a
annoying.
lack
Like,
of respect thing. Like they still
Yeah.
played the game out as if it was just like the regular game. Like they had crazy vision control throughout and crazy pressure that they used to their advantage. And I thought this was a really good showing regarding that, but that they showed almost zero respect for the team overall. They were like, it's like our scrim partners from the B League in China. That's almost what it felt like. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Spell's not good for Rogue.
Yeah, it was basically just Zoe was catching people and then they'd win. Like,
if the second you have,
sorry.
Yeah, the second that you have to be worried that the Zoe's gonna kill you at any given second and you can't play properly around that, you probably lost.
Okay, but what I love that they're doing with like long range is basically what they do. So it would be like Lilia like shoots out the seed, right? Hits it from like across the map, right? Alts for the sleep.
Yep.
And then they Kate ult. And the Caitlyn ult does double damage because they're asleep. And it's like, okay, you had 100% health, asleep, double damage Kate ult, now you have 20% health. Go back to base.
Rinse, repeat, yep.
Right, so it's like, we can force you off objectives by saying, okay, who's isolated? Okay, you have a person over there slightly isolated from your team, so no one can block the Kate ult. Cool. Swirl seed, alt, boom. Just chunks you out, now you can't join a fight. Like,
really quick.
That was a cool combo.
Yeah.
Did you two hear about like any shenanigans happening with scrims this year at all? As in, like, were certain teams not getting scrims with other regions due to snootiness again, or was that like am I just did that happen again, or like?
The only thing was that Korea stayed on the Korean server, everyone else went to the Chinese server. And what happened is a few of, I think it was like some of the, whatever it was, North American, European teams had asked if they could play on the Korean server instead of the Chinese. And Korea said no.
No, Riot said no.
Riot said no. Okay.
So it had nothing to do specifically about Korea.
It was Riot said no?
Okay. Because Korea was already in the same time zone and had an easier time going to China and doing the isolation. Okay. And most of their solo queue practice was going to stay in Korea. And Chinese players play on the Korean server all the time. So they were not going to be sacrificing ping by playing in their own server.
Okay.
It was every other region had to relocate servers. And because you have to when you relocate servers for World Championships, and this is the thing that people don't know, for any international tournament that teams go to, when you relocate servers for the region that you're going to, you have to formally ask Riot to create an account for you that is fully unlocked, because you're not allowed to purchase an account or you can get banned. This happened to CLG years ago. This was an actual thing. They were not allowed to play. Any player that was on CLG that year could not play in Korea for a whole year. Good thing World Championship was not in Korea that year. And so that's why all the teams that wanted to play in the Korean server had to formally ask Riot, and they were denied it. Probably due to, I'm going to say, the infrastructure limits. I'm going to be, and this is conjecture, the infrastructure limits of the hotel they're in, which is why none of them are streaming also.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It could also just be a thing of like, this is the host region, play in the host region type thing.
That's never been a problem before. I think this is very unique to this year.
Okay.
Because like a lot of teams usually go to Korea to do their practice in solo queue in Korea and then never do solo queue after. They just do scrimmage during World Championship.
So the only reason why I was bringing up the whole like were scrims like kind of sketchy this year or whatever, it's because I remember there was like a while ago, there was a couple teams that like couldn't get scrims with Eastern regions, and they're just kind of getting like shut out or whatever. And I was just wondering if like anything slightly similar to that was happening again this year, just because like I find it really weird that like Europe and most of NA have like a really weird take on the meta.
I mean, most of the other regions have taken to their take. It's just that they've adapted it slightly so that it's more efficient.
Okay.
Like every region has agreed that the way NA and by extension kind of EU were approaching the game was much better. That's why there are more dragon takes early in. The pace of the game is still faster. So that's what stayed from everywhere else in the world's take in the game.
Right.
But the Drake control has changed significantly.
Here's a couple things just off of Reddit, so not trustworthy.
Not trustworthy.
Sorry. But apparently, TL, even as late as the end of the North American playoffs, had accounts on the Brazilian server and were playing against INTZ.
At the end of the playoffs, that doesn't count anything.
Yeah, so it's apparently, let's see. INTZ was losing bad to everyone.
The only thing that was notable about scrims before going to Worlds is that NA teams were undefeated in scrims.
Yeah, Team Liquid was beating, TSM was beating Suning. LGD beat G2. Fnatic beats SN. And G2 lost to Unicorns in scrims.
Like, a lot of the teams that were supposed to be the underdogs were winning in scrims. But I never chalked that up to anything. Scrimmage results or scrim things that happen in the background usually don't mean very much. Especially since there was a year where China literally scrimmed against no other region. All of the Chinese teams, I think 30 Chinese teams, helped the 3 Chinese teams that qualified to Worlds and scrimmed with them and created strategies for all of them. I was like at 2014, 2015. They didn't win, but that was still the thing that happened, and they still did monetarily well. Like, who you end up scrimming against is not as important as the type of information you glean and research to prepare against the other team. The scrimmage is a practice zone. It doesn't tell you if your strategy is going to work. It only helps you practice your strategy.
Okay. It's interesting. They do have things where it's showing like their accounts and it shows like champions played. So like, for example, what I'm seeing here is Bjergsen had played 20 games on Syndra, 15 on Zoe, 12 on Akali, 11 Lucian, 7 Zillion.
Yeah.
So like those were the 5 champions he was practicing. If that means anything.
Yeah, solo queue practice is more about a practice on the read, and the super server I think is only on the Worlds patch. Like, it won't be ever updated, and it's just like high level Chinese players and then the pro players around the world.
Interesting. All right, let's go to the next game.
Sure.
Ooh, I got words. I've got choice words.
FlyQuest versus Unicorns of Love. FlyQuest takes this. Oh my god. Their draft on blue side was first pick Renekton, and then they picked Volibear and Syndra, and then they rounded off with a misfortune Rakan. Unicorns first picked a Orianna and a Graves, and then they picked a Ord, and then they rounded off their draft with a Senna Tom Kench. What I think is interesting is, or what I want to ask you guys is, when Unicorns pick Senna and then FlyQuest rounds off their draft with MF Rakan, do you think that forced Unicorns to pick Tom, or were they going to pick Tom anyway?
Yes. No. 100% on the read there.
Okay.
They were forced to pick Tom Kench because they needed a disengage option because they realized, oops, Ornn is not enough of a disengage option when it's our engage option. That's, in fact, I think the only engage option they had.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you want to count Orianna Shockwave, which we don't.
Shockwave is a re-engage option. Doesn't really assist with very much, and it's super inconsistent, especially if you have no delivery system.
Wait, what is this?
What is what?
What do you...
LGD was playing Twitch jungle in scrims.
Yeah, but Twitch jungle is not a new...
I know. I'm just stating that it happened.
Okay.
So
no,
I think that the pick of Renekton Volibear is kind of funny to me.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do either of you two want to comment on that?
I think it's stupid. Don't do this. Like, I can understand if you pick Volibear jungle because you have another solid top laner that has an engage option, and you want to have like a more like single target CC, let's go in front and maybe die later option. But then you pick 2 of them. You pick 2 of them. You got Crocodile and Furry Crocodile, both of which going in heads blazing.
But that's all they needed because they're playing Misfortune and Syndra, so they just want something that can be on the front line, has that on-click stun, so it can set up, right? It's set up so the Rakan can follow up, and then.
But neither one of them built tank. Both of them build bruiser. They build bruiser.
I think that's also kind of okay though, because both of them have ults that give them like half an extra health bar. So
yeah,
like
it's literally the same.
On top of that, Unicorns was playing the most like a classic thing, like how they lost in their own region, was they played no damage. So if you look at even what they built and what they took. So like for example, they took 2 heals, smite, teleport, exhaust, I think, and like heal mid lane. They didn't play like the Hail of Blades Tom. They played Spellbook. Whatever it was. Grasp of the Undying on Ornn was the only like actual damage per se.
Mm-hmm.
So all of their keystones are defensive, and then it's phase rush. So defensive keystones, defensive summoners, building defensive.
So I want to think about it in terms of the phases of the game, right?
Sure.
They first picked Renekton, they pick Orianna Graves, you pick Volibear Syndra, and they pick Ornn. How the fuck did Ornn get through 6 picks and 6 bans? Huh?
Yep.
Why did FlyQuest not pick Ornn first? They literally could have been Ornn first. They would have likely still kept the Orianna Graves, and you pick Volibear Syndra. I'd have been like, perfect. I'm okay with this. This is great. You got your really strong engage, your single target, let's go meatball, probably die engage, and a nice sustained damage with burst option.
I guess they just really wanted the Renekton.
But this is so stupid. They let the Ornn through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it's stupider that UL let the Ornn through the ban phase, but it's like.
I think it's interesting that they decided to ban the Swain.
The Swain ban is whatever to me. I put like.
No, but like that's the thing though, because it's a whatever ban. Like I think that would have been more suitable as an Ornn ban. You know, if you were.
They didn't. So they didn't want the Swain to be played. What was her?
Bot lane.
The bot lane, because
it slightly disrupts the identity that Misfortune has within this particular composition. Sure. It slightly disrupts the way that the engages are worked out, and it has a great way of like adding extra vision and information that the team usually would have had to deal with on the regular occasion. This is usually a pretty good trump card that UL has. To me, it's a whatever band. It is an appropriate band. What I think is hilarious is that UOL has a really freaking strong, and we're gifted a very strong core composition. And in their second round, they went, but we don't want to add damage. Just like Connor put it out.
Yep.
And then FlyQuest was like, oh, cool. I guess we didn't fuck up the draft as much as you guys did. And then picked Misfortune Rakan and went, we're going to bag the check. Our team fights are going to be won every time by us. Thank you. Good night.
They don't have sustained damage.
Yeah.
Because it's Ornn, sure, but he does damage, I guess. Tom, he can do damage, sure. But like Graves Orianna is the burst, right? They work well together because they can combine their burst on someone. Cool. But, and then it's, Senna, Tom, Kanjorn. You don't have the sustained damage, right? Whereas,
why did they pick Sivir?
Sure, I would have been happy with Sivir here.
I would have been happy with Ziggs.
It's just weird though. Like Senna doesn't offer anything. Like it's like.
Senna offers a lot of survivability, and the fact of the matter is that FlyQuest fumbled almost all of these team fights and let the survivability of UOL take precedence over their team fight positioning. Honestly, I gave Player of the Day to Wild Turtle for his positioning because he was the key decision maker in how the damage was outputted in all of these fights. Yeah, everybody's going to be like, Power Evil really outplayed everybody. Yes, great. His damage numbers look really great. But honestly, Wild Turtle being killed off and prioritized in a bunch of those fights made the fights look closer than what they actually were because a lot of people didn't notice the amount of work he was putting in.
Sure.
He on his own was doing more zoning than what Syndra was doing because between Ornn and the way that Senna and Tahm Kench survive through these team fights, the burst that Syndra offers literally affects Graves and Orianna only, and the rest of the team fight core stays virtually the same for UOL. Right. So their issue was making sure to not let Misfortune have overtime damage. And when Wild Turtle was able to hit the Ornn over and over and over and over again, and he could not come in, it literally neutralized the entire team fight, making Syndra look very good.
Sure. Because the Ornn was already at 20% health kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I put my player of the day to Wild Turtle, despite the fact that everybody was like, look at the big numbers on Power Evil. I'm like, all right, sure. I'll give him his pat in the back. I mean, he did literally, both of these players carried out of their minds. This was they're like Sisyphus, this game.
So I guess the moral of the story is that both teams fucked up draft to a certain degree and gameplay, but Unicorns fucked up harder.
Yes, that's correct.
That's sad. All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm
do
like,
do you
I
have a
wrote
rebuttal,
down.
Connor? I'll let you rebuttal. Like it's all good.
No, I guess that's fair.
Because I wrote down FlyQuest at 20 minutes of a 4K lead, but at 25 minutes, they lost 2K of that lead and weren't ballooning properly and were down 3 Drakes against UOL. And then at 32 minutes, somehow they gained a 6K lead and Wild Turtle was at a flame horizon.
Yep. I don't know.
This is just the whole thing is just bizarre. This particular group is the wackiest.
Sure. I have two more comments.
Yep, go
ahead.
So, no, it's just about other things. So I was looking through the Super Server stuff now. So Power of Evil's most played is Victor.
That's hilarious.
And Rascal's most played is Callista top.
That's hilarious. We're never going to see those at Worlds.
hey, we gotta make it to 100 champs.
We gotta make it to 100 champs.
Anyway, so last game.
Yep.
I think it's the coolest draft.
Last game of the day. Top Esports versus DRX. Top Esports with the blue side have a first pick Nidalee with a Renekton Senna, followed up by a Nocturne Tahm Kench. Then DRX respond with a first pick Twisted Fate Lee Sin, and a Quintop, and then a Draven Thresh bottom lane.
Right, notes. This is how you make a draft where you're purposely banning to take away the advantages the other team is trying to play with, and make sure that you can still gain advantages with your own comp, and also using picks to dynamically uplift your own composition and take down the opposing composition. Both of these compositions are so good.
I was actually wondering when anyone was going to try and play the Nocturne versus the TF.
Right, because they drafted specific counters. It's like, okay, you're going to play Renekton? Cool. We're going to play Quinn to try to counter the Renekton. Okay, you're going to play Twisted Fate? Cool. We're going to play Nocturne to counter what you want to do. Match your roaming, cut off your vision, right? Okay, you're playing Draven Thresh, which is a kill lane? Cool, we're going to pick Tahm Kench into that and be able to deny your kill lane options.
You're like, oh, you want to play? You want to play Renekton and you want to do a side lane play? Fine, we'll ban Galio, and then we'll make sure that our Quinn has no issues when you're trying to go mid lane. We'll make sure to ban Orianna so you have no lane answers. The other side's like, oh, you want to pick Quinn and you want to have a survivable lane phase? No, we're gonna take away your Ezreal and Callista, which would have been great assistance to that. This is such a cool draft, and my favorite part, there's no Volibear. Anywhere in sight.
You're not excited about the Nocturne?
The Nocturne's cool. It's whatever. Nocturne mid is not
Bedius is just yes, Nocturne mid.
Bedius? Oh my god.
He was having a field day.
Honestly, Nocturne mid is not a huge thing. I think it's really interesting. It adds a lot of dynamics to the composition itself.
Specifically for the Twisted Fate.
Yeah.
Because Twisted Fate reveals your team. Nocturne goes, you can't see my team.
You're not allowed.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
It also gives them a global now too, which is cool. Well, half global.
That's semi-global, yeah. Which is why that's why DRX banned the Galio originally, and they probably didn't consider the Nocturne because, like, I don't have that off the top of my head. When's the last time Nocturne Mid was played? I think it was 2 years ago.
It was this year, but
no,
like
it was this
spring
year.
split.
They were playing it this
spring.
Yeah,
like
well,
10 points.
Spring split. Honestly, with COVID and spring, like spring feels like a long time ago. Like, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Might as well be 2 years. No, I'm kidding.
I'm just saying, like, once again, it was Piosik and Keria were great for DRX with the Lee Sin and Thresh. I had my play of the day as, even though they lost, but like that 25 minutes when they Lee kick and then Thresh goes for the flash flay after it for the double knockup, then lands the full combo, the 5v4. It was super clean. Renekton was building tanks, so we just kicked him back through the team.
Yep. No, this game was a lot of fun. I think this, however, was not the cleanest game out of DRX. Yep. I don't agree that Piosik and Keria look super great. They look serviceable. And you know what? I will take serviceable over ward status. Because, my goodness, a lot of this team is still very ward status.
Keria is also like 17. Let's remember that. No, but let's just say, hey,
17.
We're 18. Saying I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the future. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's whatever. But like, the age thing doesn't matter too much. Faker was 17 when he won the first world championship. Nobody uses his age like, oh, imagine in the future how good he'll be. Everybody was like, this guy is fucking awesome. If I'm hearing the praises of a 17-year-old, I better see it at the world championship stage, because that's the level of caliber you're at this point, right?
Yeah.
And if you get better in the future, this will just be a stepping stone to your career. But for the moment in time being, it's world championships now. And right now, he's serviceable. And you know what? That's great. I'm going to take it.
Well, I mean, he carried game 1 and then looked serviceable, as you say, against arguably the best team in the world. So what you're saying, he matched lane against, again, arguably the best players in the world. That means he's doing all that he should be expected to, right? Like, to be fair. But
but the part of the strength of top have is not just the laning phase, right? The laning phase is a great indicator of power matchup and if whether or not they're at the caliber to go to Worlds. The fact that they were able to go head to head for the first 15 minutes tells me that they are at the caliber that are needed to go to Worlds, right?
Yep.
They are at the elite caliber,
which
is why, like, when you see PoE doing well again when they were playing their match against top esports up until later into the game, that tells me that at the caliber he's serviceable, needed for Worlds.
Okay,
right?
That's fair.
Because it's not the same thing as when you're in your local region and you're somehow really flubbing up and just kind of accidentally winning because Chovy is super strong. I'm happy to see that this is not the case, that's not the caliber that they're at, that they're at the caliber that is needed to play out these games without looking like they're going to get dumpstered on. And
Chovy,
you know what?
and the wards.
But now it's just Chovy and 2 solid teammates. I still want to see Deft.
I don't like Doran, I'll be fair. Like, I'll flat out say that, so, okay.
Deft and Doran, I really want them to step up. Yeah. They were 2 of the outstanding players outside of Chovy for most of the year until the later parts of summer, and then...
This was sad. I never get to see a good Deft. Like, I swear, like Worlds comes around and Deft goes, where'd my talent go? Like, I always hear casters being like, oh, Deft, yeah. And then when I start paying attention more to those regions, because it's Worlds, Deft just goes like, out the window.
Missed out on Worlds 2014 where Deft was at his peak.
I know, but I couldn't appreciate him at that time, though. Because at that time, I was an NA fanboy that was just like, why are all these Korean and Chinese teams destroying us? It's not fair. That's.
Is it fair to say this is the best Senna we've seen?
I'd say so.
Yes. 100%.
Like, I have Jackalope as my player of the day because he was probably carrying all these fights for top. Like, he was consistently getting off his damage consistently.
He was doing the thing that Wild Turtle was doing on a Senna. That shit blows my mind.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like he's playing Caitlyn and just being like, okay, I'm getting into, right? Like, he's cutting through tank lines, landing all his damage, keeping his teammates alive, landing his CC. Like,
the amount of multitasking you have to pull off with this is crazy.
But also, we haven't seen like Infinity Edge Senna, really. So he went Infinity Edge Senna and just gets for that 100% crit, right?
Yeah.
And just goes 100% crit. I can cut through these tanks just off.
I know we've already talked about it too, but I still can't like the Sanguine Blade purchase on Draven. But I understand. I know it's been explained to me. I just still don't like it. That's just...
Yep.
Honestly, I think this is also one of the worst Draven plays, and we started the day with like a crazy Draven play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I gotta say though, top looked both of our top two teams, the Damwon and top, looked, I wouldn't say the weakest, but looked less dominant. I'm trying to find a word.
They don't look undefeatable.
Yeah, they don't look undefeatable. That's the word. That's what I'm looking for.
Which is good.
They don't look
for
undefeatable. Right? Because the thing that worried about me when I was doing the research coming into Worlds, when I was doing the whole crazy, I'm going to watch every single playoff game in order as they're coming out, is that when I saw top, I saw no way for any team around the world to beat them in a best of 5 or best of 1 setting. This was by far the best team.
They do stuff like they win a fight and then they're like, okay, 2 of us will go do dragon and 2 of us will go take the tower. Like they do these kinds of things where it's like when it works, they're like, oh, they just took twice as many objectives. Great. A lot of teams wouldn't do that, but
sometimes they don't get through it all.
You can do stuff like, you can pull off whatever, like a crazy triple teleport play or something on one of those, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, what just happened, right? Like they'll overextend with their leads to do multiple things across the map, which technically is punishable, although it's very hard to do.
The thing that makes it very hard to do is the fact that they already have done all of the extra work for the setup, not just to secure.
They're doing that on vision control, right?
Yeah,
like they're doing it.
But this is the thing: it's not that they're just doing it on vision control; is that their vision control is set up not just for the neutral objective, but for the fight and the extra advantages that they're going to clean up after the fight.
Yep.
If you ever have the chance to look at a VOD of their team fighting or a VOD of their setup, look how much wording setup is done to make sure that they're able to transition to extra advantages after they've secured what they need to do.
Yeah.
This is a crazy amount of setup. This may not be the most calculated team, but this is the most well-prepared team for any neutral objective.
Like, they have no problem dropping 4 or 5 control wards by the Dragon Pit. Okay, we take Dragon. Let's drop another 4 or 5 on the other side of the map around Baron to set up for that. Like, they have no problem just moving their setups from one side to the other.
And most teams don't do that. Most teams just set up for an area, then prepare their lanes, then go back. Hopefully they're done. Well, it's like they've already set up that area and then add extra control wards and then move that along with the advantages they have.
Yep. I know I'm bad at this personally. I'm like, I have a control word on the map. I don't want to place this one in my inventory because then the one that's already on the map goes away. Yeah.
They have the most dynamic response to vision, and the only reason why this works is because they're so ahead all the time. Their first 10 minutes allow them to play this style, and the second a team is able to punish their first 10 minutes is the second that they'll probably be unable to play the style they're used to.
So, question, does this mean that Top Esports could maybe be classified as one of the teams that might not be able to play from behind, since they're so used to being ahead?
No, because of the way that they play their best of 5s during the playoffs when they played against Gen.G, they are very smart at knowing what their power limits are and when another team is most likely going to throw. Connor, remember when we were watching the Gen.G versus Top, and I was like, great, Gen.G's ahead, but how are they going to play the 29-minute mark? And then 29 minutes happens, and then Gen.G throws, and then Top Esports capitalizes it because they have a better approach to stealing the neutral objective, or like even just being ahead of the neutral objective play, because they knew what the limits of both of the teams were, because they're very diligent at setting up for neutral objectives. I think that's the difference maker here, right? As much as like a lot of other teams are very smart at lane play, wave manipulation, no team outdoes neutral objective setup over top. And in a meta where neutral objectives are the win condition 80% of the time, or are conditional to making sure your win condition is good.
Or they allow you win conditions. Like if you're playing an early game team comp, you're like, okay, early Ocean Soul is our win condition off of our early power from our
exactly. Top is always going to be the better team. I have yet to see top lose out to neutral objective control. Unless they give it away, because they know they can't set it up ahead of time.
Yeah,
they never.
No, that's true.
Yeah, they never like. It's never a situation where they have the ability to get it and then they just give it away for no reason. If they know they can't get it, they're not going to overfight it, and they'll just set up for the next neutral objective and get it. They never lose out to the soul fight, and the only teams that I've seen be competitive against them at all, in any way, shape, or form, is Gen.G, and Gen.G have very poor neutral objective setup. They're the smarter team, but not the best at the neutral setup. So you can see the issue as to why a lot of people would be like, but Gen.G ended up being ahead of like the entire China for up until the summer split finals. And you're like, sure. But this is a neutral objective meta. If no other team is able to properly challenge top's neutral objectives, top will win. 100%. Damwon has not convinced me that they'll be able to do that. They play a very aggressive lane-focused like method, and they use those lane advantages to then convert into neutral objectives, but they haven't shown like that hit where I'm like, yes, they definitely have the advantage for like neutral objectives over top. 100%.
Yep.
So, with that, those are all the games today. Seb, do you have anything to finish off the cast with?
I do. We now have one group that's done their entire first round of their best of ones. The first round of the double round robin is done for Group B.
Who's in Group B again? It's what's it called? It's Gen.G. Oh my god.
Yeah, Gen.G, Rogue, Damwon, and wow, how am I forgetting these teams already?
PSG.
There we go.
Yes.
Now that we've seen
3, Damwon 3L.
This will be very easy. Now that because it's only one team, one group that has done their first round robin, and their second round robin round is going to be on Friday.
Yep.
Do you think the current ranking, the current like head-to-head matchup right now, the scoring is going to change very much on that day?
Well, are you going first or am I going first?
I'll go. Okay. I mean, I'm just looking at my predictions here because I'm like, Damwon's 3-0. I have them as 5-1. So they might drop a game, they might not. Hard to say. They're probably going 5-1 or 6-0 at this point. It's like if Gen.G can maybe win that game off them. I have Gen.G as 4-2, which again is reasonable. If they lose the Damwon, perhaps. It's like one of those is likely. And then I have PSG as 2-4. So like my predictions was that PSG might do a little bit better. In all honesty, it's possible we just see them go 0-6, which would be sad.
I really don't want them to. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sad. It'd be nice to see PSG take a game or two. I don't know how they're going to take 2 games, though. So, and 1-5 means they beat Rogue, and maybe Rogue also goes 1-5.
So, I personally think, with the way things have gone, maybe Rogue takes a game off Gen.G. Maybe. But other than that, I think it's going to be a repeat of this week. Yeah. I think we're going to end up with Damwon 6-0, Gen.G 4-2, and most likely Rogue 2-4 and PSG Talent 0-6.
Yeah.
Just based off. Actually, no. You know what? Damwon is almost certainly ending up in first place, but like the one team like that the one thing that like actually probably will happen, I think PSG will take a game off someone. But yeah, I think that what we see right now for the order of Damwon first, JD second, Rogue third, PSG fourth, I think that's staying the exact same.
Okay.
I have it almost the exact same, except PSG and Rogue flipped around, but that's because I think they're going to tie. That's how I predicted them, and I predicted JD Gaming being second.
If they tie, does anything happen, or do they just let them go home because it's too late?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's third and fourth, doesn't matter, right?
Okay.
So.
But yeah. No, I don't think it'll change much either. But I wanted to see if like something in you shifted from the games today.
Yeah. Maybe other groups might be more interesting to talk about, like, you know, this group was more of this was a group where it was like, okay, we have two really strong teams that are by far the favorites to get out. So anything other than getting JDG and Damwon out was very unexpected, right?
I need Liquid to not be in fourth place. I need it.
Look,
so
it's
bad.
the team curse.
I know, but like I hate it so much. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna say.
Can I go for not fourth place TSM?
You can say that. You're allowed. You're allowed.
Okay.
You're allowed. Okay. I'll allow it.
I'm looking at my predictions. I'm like, am I only predicting the first place team for all of these groups and everything else is still wrong? That'll be very sad for me. But we don't know what the standing for the first round robin will be for the rest of the three groups until tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have a personal feeling in my gut that tomorrow is going to be spicy.
Yeah. All my predictions are still possible. G2 can still go 2 and 4.
I think all of my predictions are possible except for G2 and Fnatic going 1-5.
Oh, okay.
A lot of my predictions went out the window. I'm not even going to look at it right now.
Yeah, we maybe should have had a little bit more faith in G2.
But... I think my problem is that Europe's playoff series and Mad's performance in the play-ins weren't indicative of any confidence. And I really wanted to be proven wrong. And I'm happy that I've tentatively been proven wrong.
Yep.
But again, the first round robin isn't done yet, let alone the second round robin.
Yep.
So we'll see. Also, before we end the episode, an addendum to everything. Connor and Josh, because I realized that it's this way, realized that Fnatic and G2 were included as European teams when we made this. And we're like, wait a minute. That's not the same kind of caliber and like hype you would have if you were like going for underdogs.
Yeah. So when we were talking about it, we both like kind of forgot, like in the conversation, that Europe also means Fnatic and G2. Because when we were talking, me and Connor were like, Europe, yeah, Mad and Rogue, yeah, Europe. But we forgot that they're sending 4 teams and not 2. So
we're giving the same stipulations as we give for TSM. If G2 and Fnatic make the semifinals, we'll get their jerseys. But those 3 teams need to make semifinals.
They've done it before, so it's not.
Because historically, they've made it out of groups a lot.
Yep.
And then they get dumpstered by Albus.
Minor hiccup.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anywho, do you think anything spicy is going to happen tomorrow?
Like, why would they bet against? Who bets against Dumbledore? Like, that should be the expected
There's
result.
also that.
There's that.
Double Doge.
Anywho, I think that's everything. For those who are watching, let us know if you have anything.
My last thing.
Oh,
we had 2 new champs today. We had the Cannon top and the Nocturne mid for the brand new things. And the Blitzcrank and Quinn were new, but both of them had been banned before, so they weren't technically
their first time played.
Exactly. So we went from 81 to 83 unique champions.
Look at that. We're almost there.
16 away. 16
plus
away
2.
from the 99.
Yep.
So let us know if you think anything will be spicy tomorrow, any new picks, anything like will be a mix-up, any upsets from what is the current trend. Let us know in the comments. Thank you again, all of you who watched. We really appreciate it. Take the time to like and subscribe if you haven't. And we'll see you all tomorrow for the last day of the first round robins.
Peace.
Woo.
Bye.